terms of evaluating whether to keep a DMP or CDP, I think one of the things you mentioned is, are you using the DMP to its full power? Are some of the things that you feel that are limiting for you are things that can be done, such as the leveraging of the profile merge to manage identity, or the leveraging of the APIs to push audiences in that will solve the problem of the real time or the latency, correct? That was one. Another one was around like, what is exactly your expectation of a DMP or a CDP? Like if it is about the ability to create the content or the ability to orchestrate, need to make sure that this is actually something that is not existing in DMP today, but would it exist in a CDP, or this is still going to be a problem when you migrate, and so that you need to understand like the decisioning engine, as well as the content that comes with it. Where does it exactly live? Mm-hmm. That's a great point. And I think the third one was really having the right people in the right place. So if you are today not getting value out of your DMP, is it because you don't have the right person managing the DMP, or you don't have the right processes of using the DMP? For example, I've seen so many implementations where clients are just pushing data to the DMP, and they're overcharges, and it's just data sitting there, thousands and thousands of segments and traits, and it's not being used. You see it on the destination side, few segments here and there. And that's a problem, right? Because you don't have the right people and process that are managing the DMP. And this is going to be exactly, I believe, it's the exact problem that's going to continue to happen if you go with a new technology as a CDP, which actually might be even more complex, because with a CDP, there's more involved. You need to understand the data model and the schema. It's not just saying push data in. So there's a lot that takes a lot of thought and design that needs to go into it, that if it's lacking today, it's going to continue to lack. Aside from these, is there anything else that you would recommend for people to evaluate when they are thinking about a DMP versus a CDP, in your point?
I think that something that we haven't mentioned yet is the governance and the privacy around it. And that's something that you have to consider. Software like the DMPs, like Audience Manager, for example, they give you the capabilities to manage the privacy of your data. And the way I explain this to my manager is like, they are giving us the door, the locks, and the keys, but we can decide if we leave everything open, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's basically how you need to figure out how are you managing your governance and how the privacy is looking in the future, right? With GDPR, with all these regulations coming into place and changes in the browsers, a lot of what DMPs rely on has to change. Mm-hmm. So how is that going to be solved or managed by CDPs in a better way? The idea of having an authenticated status of everybody coming to your digital presence, so you don't rely on third-party cookies and things like that. Right. You need to look at the privacy too and the governance of your data, which with tools like AP, that now has a user interface that allows you to much more easily to work on how you govern your data, because first of all, with the schema, you're bringing the data to one place, and then you can apply all the privacy regulations to all the data you have. But again, if you look at your company and say, well, we have a data lake, and we actually put a good process and good and people working on the governance of your data, maybe you don't need it, right? Mm-hmm. But thinking on of what happens with the future of privacy and how that will impact the current way that you're doing things, that's also something that you need to consider.